Good evening. This is If the Spirit Moves You. I'm your host, Mr. Seiler. Now, this evening, we're going to be reviewing a Canadian whiskey. Traditionally, I'm not a big fan of Canadian whiskeys, and the reason why is because there's a lot that goes into making whiskey, from the start to the finish. There's a lot that can be messed with or tampered with. And in researching this bottle in particular, and Canadian whiskey, I found out so much more that I didn't know. I'm a certified bourbon professional. I feel like every time I look into a beverage, I learn a little bit more. With this one, what I found out with Canadian whiskey is that there's a 9.09 rule. That's how much percentage can be other stuff. Usually grain neutral spirit, which is at a higher percentage. They usually will do that as a flavoring whiskey. In Canadian whiskey, you have two different whiskeys, the base whiskey and the flavoring whiskey, and they get proofed at different areas. Now, in the States, for our bourbons, our ryes, and all of the American-made whiskeys, there's a rule that it can't be above a certain proofing to go into the barrel. With Canadian whiskey, that rule doesn't apply. It can go in at any proofing. So, they also can have the flavoring whiskey, which is a grain neutral spirit, that will basically be thrown into the barrel after the first whiskey has been aged in there to leach out the extra flavors. You get more herbal, fruity aromas that happen with these esters or the chemical compounds that give those the flavors. It's usually about like 2 years or so on average. With this Canadian whiskey, this is from Copper and Cask. Now, if you don't know what Copper and Cask is, they basically will procure a certain barrel or style from a certain distillery. They bottle that and then they sell it. And it's a real treat because it's something that is familiar yet different. Now, a lot of the times when somebody does something like this in the States, it's MGP. And MGP is Midwestern Grain Products. Now I believe it's called Ross and Squibb because that's the company, the two distilleries that were known for. I think it was Ross Distillery and I forget, it was Squibb was something. I not a big MGP fan. Didn't look too much into it. It's in a lot of different whiskeys, but the reason why, it's from a company called Luxco, which is all spirits and like they got a lot of stuff under there. It's not just whiskey. So for me, I'm a true whiskey fan. I find that if you enjoy whiskey, you put your money where your mouth is, and that's what you do, and you do it best. Other companies are looking at the monopoly of spirits and distillation in general. Now, I'm not a big fan of MGP, like I said. I can taste it in most whiskeys that I tried. I can taste it in base style. Usually anything coming from Indiana or Pennsylvania, a high percentage of rye. This is coming from Alberta, Canada. Bottled in 2005, or just filled 2005, bottled 2025, and that's January to November. So it's a little bit over 20 years, give or take a couple months. I would say 9 or 10, since it's November to January. I don't know exactly where in each month that low or lied. This is a Hazmat Canadian whiskey, proofing at 80.7% alcohol, which is 161.4 proof. 20 years. The reason why this can be that hot after 20 years is because in Canada, it's up there, it's cold. Usually whenever you have colder climates, the alcohol burns off first versus the water. In hot climates like Texas and in certain parts of Kentucky as well, or in certain areas of the States where it gets hot. The hotter it is, when you have water burn off first, your alcohol proofing goes up in percentage. So that's kind of the rule of thumb. In certain areas like Texas, they actually use smaller kegs because it takes less time and it can accomplish the flavor so much quicker because it's hotter. You chill filter this. This one is not. This is unfiltered. When you don't filter, what you're doing is not, as you can see, it's clear, dark. It's not cloudy, but it is more hued through. It's not going to be as clear as like a chill filtered whiskey, because when you add the water in it makes it more clear. It takes out the particles and it actually makes them a little bit more enjoyable and open up flavors because you're lowering that proof. For me, I like high proof. I enjoy a burn because this goes in so hot into those barrels, even though it's in a colder climate. Um, it's able to get up to that proofing and stay up there for that entire time while you're going through the 20 years with that. Now, as well, with this, I found out, is there an MGP of Canada? And there is. And it so happens that it comes from Alberta. So the chances are that this right here could be, because I don't know, it just says Alberta. I believe it's Alberta Distillery or Alberta Premium. I forget which one is the Canadian version of MGP, essentially. I think it's the Alberta Distillery, not Premium. That's a brand. But that's by the Beam Suntory company, which is a whiskey-based company and mainly focuses in whiskey first versus the other spirits as well. I'm a big fan of Beam and Suntory. I'll reach over to my right here. This is just because I have it here. Look, I got a bottle of Booker's right here. I got just down below because I had to warm up my palate before getting to this. Some Knob Creek as well. I have a little book just chilling, so many bottles over there, but one that I've been sipping on as well. This is fresh open. I have not even cracked the seal. I'm going to use my little handy dandy tool right here. And we're going to get this opened. There we go. I'm excited about this. If you don't know, bottled water, especially sparkling water, can help cleanse the palate and give you a first bite, first sip filling. Hold on. Ooh. So this essentially is like drinking 2 shots in one. So it doesn't take much. We're going to pour probably about a half ounce at most in there. Let that open up. It has to breathe. Since that just opened up, the ethanols and the alcohol are going to be really pronounced. Now, another thing to talk about with bottles, headspace. Enjoy a bottle because as it gets down lower and you save that last bit, when it gets about to here, more air in there, more oxygen is more alcohol every time that gets pulled out of the bottle every time. So more headspace means that you have to drink it quicker to enjoy it, or not at all, for the preservation of the bottle, to keep it closed as long as you possibly can, but it only stays for a couple of years at most. So once opened, it's meant to be enjoyed. Whiskey does not go just bad over like that quick of a time, but the quality starts to degrade. This is deceiving because it doesn't smell that hot, but it definitely burns the nose on the back end. Usually with Alberta whiskey as well, it's a lot of Canadian whiskey uses a lot of corn in the mash bill and a little bit of rye just to kind of open it up. They have the barley in there as well. But with Alberta, it's almost all rye, if possible. It's the predominant grain. Very similar to MGP because high predominance of rye in their mash bills as well. Oh, man. That is hot and sweet right off the nose. I get a little bit of spice on the back end, but it's not super spicy like a rye would be off the nose, because I feel like with 20 years, that's kind of mellowed out. There's a little bit there. I get a little bit of like mint, some coriander or something. It's like cardamom, I think. is what I'm kind of picking up. But it's nice. More maple, like caramel, that sweet like nose to it. But I think that's just from it opening up. A lot of oak spice. So I'm getting like baking spices, some vanilla in there. I'm excited about this. Let me cleanse my palate one more time. I've been sipping at Topo Chico. Now, Topo Chico, it's aggressively carbonated, especially out of the glass bottle. Glass is key for the preservation of the carbonation. Now, low pH level on this one, along with the sodium, is going to peel back that palate to rip through all the fats and the oils that you probably already have on your palate to cleanse that and give you your first bite, first sip feeling. There's a science to everything. All right. Well, I'm going to be swishing this around the palate, not aggressively. The science behind drinking a whiskey or sipping a whiskey and enjoying the most flavors, you're going to want to sip a little bit on the palate, swish it around, not aggressively, just enough to coat the palate and let your salivation start. Because when your saliva starts to dilute that, it's naturally going to bring the proofing down. Now, at the same time, you're going to have the burn. The burn is normal. Enjoy it. That's where the flavor lies behind. That's passing the wall. As you pass that burn and the dilution happens, you're going to taste more notes. It's going to open up the complexity and flavors naturally versus adding water or ice to certain things. You can, it's preference. Sometimes I feel like it makes things harsher or opens up notes that I didn't want more so, and mute certain ones because it's chilling it. So when you take that swallow, before you swallow, you're going to breathe in through your nose, swallow, breathe out. What that's going to do is separate the ethanol and the alcohol, which are what choke us up. So it's going to probably take a moment since this is literally 161.4 proof. All right. I'm excited and also nervous. Wow. That's so smooth for how hot that is. That was so easy to enjoy. This bottle is ridiculous. What the fuck? All right, wow. So first off, 20 years, you lose a lot of the nuanced flavors in a bottle usually. With a higher proof, I feel like some of those punch through, not as predominant, so I would hate to, like, this is why I feel like people don't as much enjoy certain ones like Pappy whenever they pay the price for the bottle as when they get to enjoy it. Because sometimes I feel like the flavors get so nuanced and they're so minuscule, but it's the excellence of how it is for the quality, because it's smooth as fuck. It's sweet, but that dry oak from there pulls that tannins, which tannins are the compound that dries out your mouth from the certain stem or oak or skins of grapes and stuff. That gives it like this almost more chewy feel to it. Like I said, smooth as hell. That did not burn. Now, it's also because it could be that 9.09 rule. If some of that is not just whiskey, maybe that grain neutral spirit, or sometimes what could be even like a dry white wine, which is why you can have certain flavors like the tannins that can be in certain Canadian whiskeys. There's certain ones like Black Velvet uses it in their flavoring whiskey. Some of those flavoring whiskeys have certain things in them. It can be done both before or after, before and after, or you can do it multiple times. That's crazy. I get like when I first put that in my mouth and switched it around, I almost felt like I got like a baked apple pie that was not sweet at all. Like the essence of, like, because it wasn't sweet, it was a little bit more dry, like a McDonald's apple pie, a baked apple pie from McDonald's, dry but not sweet. It's been in there for a while. It's 3 a.m. Drunchies hit. God, hold on. Let me go in for one more. Now, here's the question. Do I revitalize the palate and refresh it, or do I go right back in now that it's acclimated and look for more flavors? Dealer's choice. Usually, I would say go for more. I want to get that whole effect again. That was amazing. For how smooth that was, I want that to happen again. I want that punch. Fuck. That's wild. Wow. Maple. I'm getting oak. I'm getting spices like cinnamon, cardamom, allspice. It's nice. There's a lot that gets lost nuance wise though. Like it's very hard for me to pull these. I'm like having to like go in multiple times. Maybe it's just because it's so hot. I'm not smelling all those right now. Maybe I should have let it rest more. But I'm a fucking savage. I'm a cowboy at heart. So. Oh man, I got buttery on that one, like butter, maple. Shit. This is so good. Fuck. Wow. I'm like, I want to say like butterscotch, like buttered caramel. Like you just are about to put the sugar in and make that sugar the caramel because you've had the butter in there. That's nice. Fuck. Canadian whiskey, I've had so much problems with. This bottle solves everything I've ever had a problem with. It's got the punch. It has the warmth. It has the flavor too. It's not too sweet. I hate when whiskeys are too sweet or when the flavorings take over everything. This probably, because whenever you have the distillation, you have sometimes pot stills and column stills. Usually for more of a high proof, you're going for column stills. So it's coffee still or coffee column or continuous stills are what they're called, and they're two stills up like this. And basically inside of each one, it brings up the proofing and the distillation faster than a pot still, because usually in a pot still you have to do like 1 to 2, sometimes 3 distillations to bring up the proofing. You first start with the mash bill. You make the wash from that and bring that up, which is basically like a crude beer. It's at probably like a 10%, 5 to 10, somewhere in between, or I'd say 8 to 10, somewhere in between there whenever you first do that. And then afterwards, you'd bring it up and you'd have the low wines, I think are what they're called. And those are where you bring it up to about 20% alcohol. And then the second distillation is where it ramps that up for pot stills. Column stills can go right up to there because it's continually vaporizing and bringing that off. And then everything is separating in a different way because the way it is. Now, the nuanced flavors and differences is pot stills usually have more flavor. Column stills usually are easier way to get a more, I guess, continuous product or consistent product. You're going to be doing everything consistently. So sometimes you lose out on certain flavors. Now, whenever you cut whiskey, there's the hearts, the heads, the foreshots, the tails. There's all these different parts, and like the main thing is that you're trying to cut off the first part of it because that's where the methanol is, and that's what can make you go blind. So that's the main important part. Now in the States, we have those rules that you can't put it into a barrel at a certain proofing, and in Canada, that doesn't exist. You can do whatever the fuck you want. So I don't know how hot they got this originally, but I would imagine they're probably starting with about the maximum grain neutral spirit, which is I think it's called the high wines, and those base spirit whiskeys and blended whiskeys are going in at like I think 94% alcohol. So 94 to get to 80. Usually every year, the angel share, you're losing about 5% of the barrel. So I wonder how much of the barrel was lost in all this, or how much they were able to cut their product with that 9.09 rule. But needless to say, if this is that Canadian MGP, I'm a big fan of this one. That high proof note, it has so much flavor. I feel like the more that I sip at it, the more it opens up. Having that buttery, like maple note, like I almost like, maybe it's just me imagining it, but I got like a bacony like flavor, like feeling, like the salt, the butter, the sweet. I feel like I was having breakfast. I'm missing my sausage with this. Fuck, it's so good. Oh, man, that's so nice. For how hot that is so smooth. I get salty, buttery. I think I did that one a little bit too fast though, because that one felt warm going down, but nothing that I'm not already accustomed to with drinking high proof. But oh God, I wanted to enjoy it so fast because it just feels so smooth on the palate. But that just shows that once that alcohol hits and it starts to numb and burn, it felt good to me. I love it. But I could feel when that went down, it was probably a little bit, not like hot, but warmer. I just felt like it was so smooth to be able to get ready for that. But gosh dang. Buttery, salty, maple, vanilla, baking spice, almost like dried fruits like apples or like apricots, or it's some brighter fruits like that that are sweetened usually. It's nice. I am such a fan of this. This one I ended up picking up at my local liquor lineup for like $80. Um, they have a really good palate. I trust them with their store picks. There's a couple places around here that I do trust because they have good palates for a good flavor. Wow. Copper and Cask. This one I am a huge fan of. I like want to enjoy the rest of this just on like the street or on the video. I mean, so that I because I don't want this to end. It's so good, but shit. It's like a more golden honey color almost. Whenever it's in there. Mm, mm, mm. Wow. So on that last sip, having more in the palate, I don't know if it's the proofing, but I got more like a carefilling, like peppery fucking punch on there. Um, wow. I like the flavor because it's like, it adds a little bit of spice onto there. You've got the spice dried fruits with the buttery, salty, almost like a fat of like a bacon or a sausage in there. It's like the perfect breakfast. And I'm just missing the eggs. That was nice because that fatty like sausage bacon note is in there now. I feel like I just had breakfast. That's why I like whiskey. When you really get down to it, if you can describe all the nuanced flavors to me in almost like food terms, that sounds fucking good. Well, thanks for joining. This was a long video, but it was long overdue. Once again, this is If the Spirit Moves You. My name is Mr. Seiler. I'm a certified bourbon professional, and I enjoy whiskey. I've got a couple different bottles that I'm going to get to eventually. We're going to go ahead and start on this project. Thanks for joining, and if you like this, leave a comment. Let me know what you want me to do next, and I'll see if I can get it.